So I'm now going to record Daf Tzadik Ches part 2. We're starting on top of Tzadik Ches Amid Beis on the top line. Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught in a Braisa, Kroshim, the boards of the Mishkan, Milmatan at the bottom, Oivian Amma. They're 1 amma thick. So each carriage was 10 ammas high, 1.5 ammas wide, but 1 amma thick. Umilmalan, and this is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, on top, Kolin Vahelchin Ke'etzba. So from the bottom, when it was an amma thick, it was cut diagonally, so that on the top it came to a point virtually only 1 etzba thick. Shenemar, because the pasuk says Yu Tamim al Roishoy. And the word Tamim means Yu Lahalanu Aimer. There's a pasuk regarding the water of the Yarden, Tamu Nichrasu. They were finished, they were cut off, they didn't exist. So here also, when the pasuk says Tamim al Roishoy, means that on top the thickness of the board didn't exist, it narrowed to an etzba. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemia says, Kshem shemilmatan oivian amma, the same way that at the bottom it's amma thick, kach milmalon oivian amma, on top it's the same amma thick, shenemer yachdov, which means that it's uniform. Again, it's 10 ammas high, it's 1.5 ammas wide, and it's 1 amma thick, uniform from top to bottom. The Gemara asks about ksiv tamin. What does Rabbi Nechemia do with the word tamim? So he doesn't translate it as ending or finished off. Hu deleise shleiman v'loileisu denisra, that the boards have to be whole boards, and you can't take 2 boards and fasten them together to make a board. Tamim, it has to be tomim, one piece. B'yidach nami, according to Rabbi Yehuda haksiv yachdav, it says yachdav, and how could Rabbi Yehuda say that it was 1 amma thick at the bottom and it narrowed to an etzba on top? Zahu deloy lishal chufinu miadadi. Yachtav means that the boards were perfectly equal sized, so that when one board stood beside the other, you had a straight wall. It wasn't like one was out and one was in. Now, in order to understand the Gemara's kasha here, you need some visuals, okay? Rabbi Isa, you're aware that the north side and the south side of the Mishkan was 20 boards each board being an amma and a half wide, so 20 times 1.5 is 30. In the back, there were actually 8 boards. 8 times 1.5 is 12. The back board overlapped. The back western board overlapped the north board, and it overlapped the south board. In other words, the wall on the north ended, the wall on the south ended, and then the west wall covered the opening of the west side, and it also covered 1 amma thick of the north wall and 1 amma thick of the south wall. Let me explain the Gemara's kasha before I do it inside. You have to visualize this. The Gemara asks the kasha, if you're, according to the, it's well understood, if we hold that the boards were uniformly thick, so it's perfect. So the north wall was uniformly thick and standing straight, and so the south wall, and the west wall was up against it and was flush. It was exactly point to point, it made the corner. But if you hold that the boards were angled, so imagine the north wall is angled from 1 amma thick at the base, so that at the top it's not only an etzba thick, and the diagonal is inward. The same with the south wall also, it starts at an amma thick, and it's cut on a diagonal inward, so that at the end it's only an etzba thick. In the back you have 8 boards, and those boards are standing by their width. So if they're standing by their width, the last board on the western side to the north is standing straight. It's a board 10 ammas high, 1.5 ammas wide, but the board that it's meeting is cut inward. The board that it's meeting has been angled inward. So anybody looking on the north wall on the outside is going to see a piece of west wall sticking out past where the north wall was angled in. The Gemara says, Bishlam Milamanda Amar, according to the one that says, Kshem Shemilmatan Oivian Amma, Kach Milmalan Oivian Amma, it was an amma thick at the bottom and an amma thick on top. Hainu Dechsiv, that's why it's written, Uliarksia Mishkan Yama, on the back of the Mishkan to the west, Tasa Shisha Kroshim, there's 6, and then you have Shnei Kroshim, Tasa Lemekutzais, and another 2 boards in the corners. So that's a total of 8. Da'asi Pusya Dahani, that the width of the western board, Mimali Le Lusumcha Dahani, covers the thickness of the north and the southern walls, because it overlaps it and it comes to a perfect corner. Elaman de Omer, according to the one that says Milmatan Ovyan Amma Ulmalan Kolin V'Hoichlan Etzba, if the walls on the north side and the boards on the north side and the boards on the south side were an amma thick at the base, but as they went higher, the cut was diagonal, so that at the end it came to a tip. So in the end, high ayel v'high nafik. So the boards on the northern side were angled inwards, and the boards on the western side stuck out because that's standing by its width, and its width was 1.5 amas straight. The Gemara says it's a good kasha. The shafi luhu kiturin. What they did have to do is they had to cut off the corner of the western wall, that western board that was the last one to the north. They cut it off so that it ended up flush with the angled northern wall that was angled inward. It says Vabriya chaticha b'toich hakroshim. There was a briya chaticha in a center bar going through the kroshim. Tana b'nei sayyimid. And the traditional pshat is that this went through the thickness of the boards, so it went through the thickness of the northern wall, and miraculously, like a snake, it turned to go through the thickness of the western wall, and then when it came to the south, again, it made a turn miraculously and went through the thickness of the southern wall. Taisus brings another pshat that actually it wasn't. There was really three brichim, one briach north, one briach west, and one briach south. So in case, what was the miracle? So some Sefer says the miracle is that there wasn't much holding the two long walls with the back narrow wall, because if there was no briach unifying all three of them, the miracle was that it stood. Now the next thing the Gemara is going to do is it's going to allocate the uriyos. The first layer of uriyos made of tchelis, argaman, tala, shani, and sheish, and then the second layer of uriyos made of uriyos izim over the top of the mishkan. And it's going to attempt to do it both according to the Man Yomar, who says that the board on top narrowed to nothingness, and according to the Man Yomar that the board on top was still an amma thick. The Torah says Vesa Mishkan, which means the top layer of uriyos over the Mishkan. Tasa was made of 10 strips of uriyos. Eirech ha-uriya ha'achas, the length of each uriya was shmoina ve'esrim amma, 28 ammas, and as you know, I'm speaking out, and each one was 4 ammas wide. But they took 5 of those strips and sewed them together. Then you had 28 by 20. Then you had another section, also 5 strips, also 28 by 20. And the 2 sections that are 28 by 20 were held together by clasps and loops. So in the end, you ended up with 28 by 40. So here we go. Shadi urkayu, you take the length of these uriyos and put it over leputya the Mishkan, over the width of the Mishkan. So let's see. Kama havi, how long is the uriya? Right, it's esrim etmani, 28 amas. The Mishkan on the inside was 10 amas wide. So dal eser leigra, so 10 amas went over the top of the Mishkan, right, from one end to the other. And again, the walls, according to this opinion, are thin, so there's no thickness of walls. So if you cover 10 amas over the top out of the 28, what's left? So what's left is 18. Pashilu teisha la'igisa v'teisha la'igisa. So you have 9 amas of uriyas hanging down the north side, and 9 amas of uriyah hanging down the south side. And when 9 amas hang down, it covers the board, and all that sticks out is the bottom amma, which was the silver socket. So Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Migal Ya'amad Adanim, the bottom amma of silver sockets is exposed. But Rabbi Nechemia, according to Rabbi Nechemia, since he holds that the walls were an amma thick on top as well, so when you spread the 28 over the top, so you covered the 10 amas of the interior of the Mishkan. You also covered an amma thickness of the northern wall and an amma thickness of the southern wall, so you used 12. The whole uriah was 28, so you're left with 16. So it hung down 8 amas on one side, 8 amas on the other side. There's Migal Ya'ama de Kroshim. So since it only hung down 8 amas on each northern and southern side, so the bottom amma of a silver socket was exposed, and one more amma of a board, which was gold covered, was also exposed. Shadi Pusayu Lurka the Mishkan. Let's take the whole uriah. Now it's 40 amas when we attached the 2 sections of 20, and let's spread it over the length of the Mishkan. Kamahavya, how much is it? Arboim. After you attached everything, 5 times 4 was 20, 5 times 4 is 20, and the 2 20s were attached with clasps and loops, making 40. Dal Talosin Le'igra, 30 covered the top of the Mishkan. Remember the north and south walls of the Mishkan had 20 boards each. Each board was an amma and a half wide, so the length of the Mishkan is 30. So 30 ammas of your 40 amma curtain is being taken up by the length. If you remember, the back wall now, according to Rav Yehuda, didn't take up any space because it angled to a point of an etzba. So Pashulu Eser, if you use 30 over the top of the length, you're left with 10 out of the 40, is Michasya Amad Adonim. So it hung down all the way down to the bottom, that even the silver sockets at the bottom were also covered. 30 over the top and 10 down vertically, and there's nothing lost on the back wall because it was as an etzba. According to Reb Nechemia, the back wall was an amma thick. So 30 ammas went over the top of the Mishkan. 1 amma was used to cover the back wall of the Mishkan, is 31. And then you only had 9 ammas hanging down the back. Migalya amma de adonim. So the bottom amma of the silver sockets was exposed. Now we're going to do the second cover. Now the second cover was 30 ammas long, and each strip was 4 ammas wide. But there was one section made of 5 strips, so 5 times 4 is 20. The other section was 6 strips, and 6 times 4 is 24. So in the end, where everything is attached together, the 5 are sewn together and the 6 are sewn together, and then the 2 sections of 5 and 6 are attached with clasps and hooks. So 20 and 24 makes 44. So it ended up being 30 long and 44 in total. So Vasisa Yiriyas Izim Loyal, you made a curtain of goat's hair to cover over the first layer. The length of each area is 30 amas. Shadi urkayu lepusya the Mishkan. If you spread the 30 over the top of the Mishkan, over the width of the Mishkan, so kamahavya, so it's 30 long. Dal eser legra. So 10 amas is taken up by covering the top. And again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the north wall and the south wall have no thickness on top. So if you take away 10, what are you left with out of a 30? Pashulu eser lahai gisa v'eser lahai gisa. So you have 10 covering down the north side vertically and 10 down the south side vertically. So the Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, mikasya amma dadonim. So everything is covered, even the 1 amma silver socket. The Rabbi Nechemia, according to Rabbi Nechemia, where the wall on the north side and the wall on the south side was an amma thick, so you covered 10 ammas of over the interior of the Mishkan, and amma on the north wall and amma on the south wall is 12, 12 out of 30, so you're left with 18. So 9 hung down vertically on the north side and 9 hung down vertically on the south side, and Migalya amma da Adonim. Only 1 amma of Adonim was left exposed. Tanya Nami Ochi, we learned in a Bryce also, Va'amma mizeh ba'aidif. There was 1 more amma and another amma extra. Lechasos amma shel Adonim. It covered all the way to the floor. This is the Rabbi Yehuda, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, since the north wall and south wall took up no space, so the top was 10 and down each side was 10, making 30. So the Adonim were covered. According to Rabbi Nechemia, it only hung down 9 ammas on each side because the top was 12. 10 ammas for the actual cavity of the Mishkan, 2 ammas for the thick walls is 12. It hung down 9 on each side, so the kroshim were all covered, but the bottom amma of Adonim was still exposed. Now we take the length, which is 44, and shadi pusya l'urka de Mishkan. Now I'm going to take the 44 and try to spread it over the length of the Mishkan. Kama havya, how much was it? So you had 11 strips of 4, making arbin v'arba 44. Dal latin le'igra, 30 is taken over by the roof. So poshilu arba srei, so left with 14. Dal tarti lekafla, 2 ammas were past the krushim on the east side over the entrance. 2 ammas there, so we use 2 ammas there. The chsiva chafalta seiriya shishis el mul pnei oil. Part of the 6th uriah of the 4 ammas, part of it, 2 ammas of it, is on the front of the oil. So poshilu from the 14, I'm left with tarti sri 12. So Bishlam el Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Hainu d'chsiv, that's why it's written Chatzi ha'yiriyah ha'idefes tisrach. So now they have 12. So on the back wall, it hung down 10. Again, there's no allocation for the thickness of the back wall because according to Rabbi Yehuda, it narrowed to an etzba. So it hung down 10, but I had 12. So the other 2 ammas dragged like the train of a kala's dress. Elder Rabbi Nechemia, according to Rabbi Nechemia, my tisrach, how does it drag? Again, doing the numbers according to Rabbi Nechemia, 2 ammas, it went in the east side, past the krushim. The whole length of the Mishkan was 30, that's 32. 1 amma on the back wall is 33. You still have 11 ammas. The one says it doesn't matter. Tisrach mechavrei sel. It's just longer than all the others because it still drags 1 amma on the floor because the previous yiriyos of the Mishkan only cover the Adonim, to the mamish to the floor. And this one drags a little bit longer. It's got a 1 amma train. Tana de Rabbi Shmuel taught in the Braisa, Lama Mishkan Daima, what was the Mishkan similar to? Elisha Shamalachas B'Shuk V'Shipula Malachan Achreha. It's like a woman walking in the street and her bottom of her dress is dragging behind her. And those that know Chumash Rashi well, Truma, Vayakyel, these are actually very detailed in Rashi's and Chumash. I hope I made it clear. I'm still going to record another shir tomorrow, so hopefully we should see each other in good health. Things are improving, hopefully. Get cultive.